All right, so this is going to be another movie review. This one's called Padre Pio, Between Heaven and Earth, 2000. I'm giving this 4 out of 5 stars. I thought it was pretty decent documentary of Padre Pio, one of the only modern saints who deserve to be canonized. Although I felt kind of dirty at the end when heretic JP2 was making him a saint. They should get a real holy pontiff instead of a heretic to do that ceremony for Padre Pio. Somehow I felt dirty with him doing it there. I know JP2 was against socialism, and he wrote a decent encyclical on divine mercy and the suffering servant back in 1980. I'm not saying he's a total blundering buffoon, but I think there's a book out, 101 JP2 heresies. That's a lot. The poster looks pretty decent. The is that the DVD cover? Yeah. Michelle Placido, Padre Pio, Between Heaven and Earth. I'm digging it. It wasn't bad. It was just hard to discern if there was blasphemy in this one. Because when they say, "Oh my Jesus," it seems like they're doing it in joy, not out of spite. Anyways, I could be wrong. I may have misjudged this movie on that count, but I did not misjudge the ending of the movie. When I almost threw up, I saw JP2 there making Padre Pio saint. I wish it could have been a different pope. Even Pius XII was a little shady because he didn't go to visit the concentration camps during Nazi Germany. He didn't play the suffering servant like he should have. Anyway, such is life. We can't expect perfect prelates. A lot of them are lazy and dumb. Probably about 70%, maybe 75%. Unfortunately. And I even posted a critique of my church, Star of the Sea Catholic Church on Geary Street. I pointed out some misgivings I have for a few priests there. Overall, I gave my church a mixed bag rating of a 4 out of 5, similar to my rating for this movie. And one of the gossipers at my church saw my review and they censored it. They just wiped it clean. It's no longer there. So I'd like to get the bottom of that one. Anyways, it was probably some pro-life fanatic accusing me of libel or whatever. But I think I had some pretty strong arguments, even if I was being a little satirical about it, sort of tongue-in-cheek, as you will. Like I wasn't totally lambasting the entire church. Just a few rogue priests there. And yeah. I suppose they're going to say, Well, you're just a layperson. You don't know anything about theology. I'm way over your head. One of those ad hominem variants that we hear quite frequently from priests who think they know the Bible. They don't even know what any of Christ's teachings, for starters. And I know from personal experience. Okay, I'm not making this up out of thin air. No matter what they say. Anyways, enough about my church. Let's dig into Padre Pio, Between Heaven and Earth. I watched this on forum.org, my new resource for Catholic saints. I just finished Saint Teresa of Avila, which was much better than this, by the way. Although there are different versions of Padre Pio that I'll bring up later on IMDb that I tend to put on my movie list. Let's see if when I'm at age 120, if, no, actually, when I'm age 83 or 84, how old am I? 54? When I'm age 87, when I'm in my late 80s, let's say, I'll get around to these other Padre Pio iterations, including but not limited to the infamous Abel Ferreira that has some shocking blasphemy in it. Even though it's supposed to be a completely boring film that has absolutely nothing to do with Padre Pio. It sounds about right for Abel Ferreira. He's trying to do his own Martin Scorsese Last Temptation of Christ, and nobody cares about his stupid movie. They used to go protest Last Temptation of Christ. Now nobody cares. Padre Pio, Between Heaven and Earth, Italian, Padre Pio, Tra Cielo e Terra is part of my Italian, is a 2000 Italian television movie directed by Giulio Bassi and starring Michelle Placido in the title role. Incredible acting. Very well played by Mr. Michel Placido. The film is based on real-life events of Roman Catholic friar and Saint Padre Pio. This is probably the only modern saint who deserved to be canonized. It's unfortunate that JP2 had to put his final stamp of approval. I think it ruined everything, but that's just me. I'm not a huge fan of JP2. For all my criticisms of Legion of Mary at my local parish, the president of the Presidium there, at least he recognized that JP2 was a heretic. I mean, he's not completely blind, but pretty 85% blind. So here we go. Based on the historical records and the personal testimony of his fellow friars, this is the amazing true story of the life of the famous stigmatic monk, Saint Padre Pio, a contemporary saint who died in 1968. Excuse me. Father Isaac Mary Relea talks a lot about Padre Pio. I think it was because of Padre Pio that Father Isaac Mary Relea became a priest after leading quite a hedonistic life as I did during my early years. I sort of mellowed out in my mid-30s. And And here I am going to the Trad Inc. Church on Geary Street. My son's serving the altar at two churches, and they call me sedevacantis, and I'm practicing a different religion because I'm actually practicing Catholic doctrine. Shocking. Blessed with incredible spiritual gifts, including healing, bilocation, reading of souls, and the stigmatic wounds. Padre Pio did it all. He was a powerful witness for Christ and a great spiritual guide to countless souls for over 50 years. No kidding. How many lives did this man touch? Amazing. And he still managed to pray the rosary 25 times a day and do mass for 3 hours. This guy is superhuman. We like Padre Pio. Filmed on location in Italy, starring Michelle Placido in a moving performance. I agree. I think Padre Pio is portrayed as a very humble servant of God. He accepts the orders of his superiors, no matter how harsh. And then they keep telling him, "Oh, you don't have to obey this vow of poverty. Oh, you don't have to obey this other vow. We're going to give you total freedom, Padre Pio, for the first time in his order of friars." This is such an inspirational movie. Great stuff. I just couldn't stand the ending. And I thought there may have been one instance of blasphemy. I could be wrong. I'm not a very good arbiter of this sort of thing, but I did confess it. And the priest that started the sea gave me 14 stations of the cross, plus the final prayer. I was guessing that one of the pro-lifers at Star of the Sea gossiped to him about my highly critical but fair review of Star of the Sea Catholic Church on Geary Street. I thought it was balanced with that priest, but he was offended that I picked on the pastor and one of the visiting priests, I guess. Filmed on location in Italy, starring Michelle Placido in a moving performance. This film tells the whole story of the beloved monk from San Giovanni Rotondo, place where millions of pilgrims now go annually to visit Padre Pio's grave. That would be a good place to visit. Forget the Holy Land. Let's go to Padre Pio's grave. I think Israel turned the Holy Land into a parking lot anyway. Padre Pio tra cielo e terra TV movie, 2003 hours long. I've never enjoyed a 3-hour movie as much as I enjoyed this one. It gets an okay 6.4 out of 10. Nothing spectacular. I'm giving it a higher rating, so actually I'm being quite kind compared to the average rating on IMDb. I'm being generous, just like I was on my rating of Star of the Sea Church on Geary Street that got vaporized and censored for no apparent reason, other than to make the church look good. and to skew the average rating towards 5, because I rated it a 4. But I would say two of the priests that were there get an F minus. One gets a C, and another one gets an A plus. So I don't know. I could have rated it lower, but fortunately, the 2F minus priests are not there. Only the C priest and the A plus priest. That's why I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. When the pastor comes back, it's going to go downhill again. I know it. I'm going to have to walk out on this homily. I can't stand it anymore. Anyways, the story of Padre Pio, 1887 to 1968, from the onset of the stigmata during World War I, where he prayed that soldiers' suffering be his until his death. He had the stigmata until his death. And he got bronchial pneumonia. And he still jumped back to life when he saw the Madonna. The story is told by Emilio, Pio's friend, to a Vatican official reviewing Padre Pio's potential canonization. We watched local people venerate the humble Capuchin monk. We see petty jealousies within the church almost bring him down, and we experience his decision to build a home for the relief of suffering, a labor of love begun just before World War II. Remember, World War I was supposed to be the war that ended all wars. Instead, it became Padre Pio's lifelong suffering under the stigmata. Amelia and her husband, Dr. Sanguinetti, worked tirelessly besides the humble but sensible Pio. So Pio had this atheist doctor who was who's behind the home for the relief of suffering. He ends up dying before Padre Pio. And pretty amazing story here, where Padre Pio is kind of gently twisting his arm in the direction of faith, and it just so happens that the guy is a very talented doctor, even if he is an atheist. So Padre Pio has some little practical thing going. This movie has been seen millions of times, although it only has 139 ratings on IMDb. So the people who watch this are not rating it on IMDb, and in fact, I only see one review. And when I click on it, it doesn't take very long to pop up because nobody's on this page. This IMDb page. All right. Here's a review from Leaf38, dated October 19th, 2019. The title of the review is "Hey, Geography Has Its Place." And there's no rating on it, so I don't know if it's more flattering than mine. Let's see. This is the IMDb review called Hate Geography Has Its Place. Padre Pio Between Heaven and Earth English title draws an adulterate portrait of the saint. The first part follows Pio Michel Placido as a young man entering the Capuchin monastery at San Giovanni Rotondo, developing stigmata and describing his grandiose vision of a home for the relief of suffering. The second part portrays him in latter years, building the hospital and enduring church investigation, which included bugging his cell. Amazing. The dark forces inside the Catholic Church are bugging Padre Pio's cell? Are you kidding me? This holy man? Uniting both parts in his friendship with Guglielmo Sanguinetti, played by Fabio Camilli, an idealistic doctor who becomes the director of the Home for the Relief of Suffering. Sanguinetti begins as an atheist when his wife Emilia Barbara Bobulova insists on meeting Pio. He declares, "I'll come with you, but only as your driver." His gradual conversion is one of the film's major themes. Leave it to Padre Pio to evangelize an atheist. It's like piece of cake for Padre Pio. Pio, I wish I had this man's graces. I mean, he didn't levitate, but he did just about everything else. Pio is made. He was he was in two places at the same time. Pio was made in the years leading up to Pio's canonization and appears in an argument for sainthood. Director Giulio Bassi gives us a Pio who fits our expectations of a typical saint, as if such a thing can exist. Pio suffers through endless investigation, but the real reasons for doubt are glossed over or ignored. Pio sometimes works as a narrative, but sometimes looks more like a series of vignettes, as if the director could not decide what kind of movie he wanted to make. It lacks cohesion and is painfully slow at times. I didn't mind the slowness. I just wanted to see Pio in action, even if it was dull and rather sublime. Pio's miracles are, of course, an important part of the movie. Stigmata and supernatural knowledge are emphasized, but bilocation is only shown once, and then only by implication. While Michel Placido gives a strong performance, I somehow doubt we're seeing the real St. Pio, a contradictory and sometimes difficult man who surrounded himself with an entourage that blurred the line between mysticism and fanaticism. The DVD contains an afterword showing Pope Jean Paul at Pio's canonization. That was really what really bothered me. The movie is Catholic propaganda depicting canonization as an inevitability. It paints a picture of the Catholic vision of suffering and spirituality, and his best moments are completely moving. Pio led a life which gives both Christians and atheists reason for doubt. This piece of hagiography has its place, but I'm waiting for a film which gives a fuller portrait of this complex man. That's a valid criticism. This is a very simplistic picture where the first half is just Pio's early life, the stigmata, and the mob that surrounds him constantly, asking him stupid questions. And then you've got the second half of the movie is just pretty much construction of the hospital, people who are helping, people who are setting it back, and and the atheist doctor's wife who's talking to the investigators, I guess. Somebody keeps texting me. Who's text? Oh, Aaron, my son. Did Rothbard say the government's bigger because they let women vote? Did he oppose the civil rights movement? Was he a friend to a Holocaust denier? Did he support Joe McCarthy? It says all that on Wikipedia, but there are no sources. He hated public schools. The first time he got involved in politics was support segregationist candidates in 1948. Rothbard, for example, as a Jewish student at Columbia, horrified his peers by organizing a Students for Strom Thurmond chapter. So staunchly did he believe in states' rights. Yeah, he also believed in abortion, too. All right. So my son is asking me about Murray Rothbard. I think Murray Rothbard was kind of like a Javier Milei in a sense that he was in support of ultimately the absence of the state, aka anarchism, but he favored a more incremental approach rather than, he favored going through the existing political system to support candidates like Pat Buchanan and things like that. So Padre Pio, here's another one more like this. Padre Pio sent Antonio de Padova, and the recent Padre Pio that gets low ratings from Abel Ferreira. We like Abel Ferreira on this channel, but we don't like the Last Temptation of Christ imitation, or some boring thing with blasphemy in it. The story of Padre Pio, 1887 to 1968, from the onset of the stigmata during World War I, when he prayed that soldiers' suffering be his. Until his death, the story is told by Emilia, Pio's friend, to a Vatican official, reviewing Padre Pio's potential canonization. We watch local people venerate the humble Capuchin monk. We see petty jealousies within the church almost bring him down, and we experience his decision to build a home for the relief of suffering, a labor of love begun just after World War II. Amelia and her husband, Dr. Sanguinetti, worked tirelessly beside the humble but sensible Pio. That's the storyline from Jay Haley at hotmail.com. According to Ignatius Press, this film drew in 2 million viewers during its original broadcast. This made Padre Pio, Between Heaven and Earth the most watched program on RAI in 2000. Release date November 12th, 2000 in Italy. Country of origin Italy. Languages Italian and English, also known as Padre Pio, Between Heaven and Earth. Filming locations Rome, Lazio, Italy. Production companies Lux Vide, Rye Fiction. Runtime 3 hours. Very enjoyable 3 hours. Somebody reviewed on here that it was slow, but I didn't mind the dullness and the sublime nature because it made Padre Pio look humble. He's sick a lot in this movie, so much like Saint Teresa of Avila or the Japanese dude in Nagasaki who is up for canonization, I guess. There is that element. Of course, it's in color, sound mix, stereo, and aspect ratio 1.33 to 1. Nobody's in the chat room. I've been blabbing for 30 minutes about my church, Padre Pio, the different iterations. I'm going to add all these other Padre Pio movies plus. San Antonio de Padua. That looks interesting. One of these Padre Pio movies gets an 8.5. The other one gets a 7.8. Of course, Abel Ferrero's incompetent version gets a very low 4.4. Not very low, but somewhat low, I should say. Very low is like 3.4. But this one gets a 4.4. So it's kind of borderline low. I wanted to say very low for extra effect, but I couldn't get away with it. Oh well. We still like Abel Ferrara. I'm not saying he's a bad director. I'm just skeptical of his assessment of Padre Pio, or lack thereof, I should say. All right, so I talked about JP2, Padre Pio. Now let's get down to my movies list. Ministry of Fear, 1944, is number 1. Number 2 is Angel on My Shoulder, 1946. And number 3 is Riot, 1996. Those are the next 3 on my list. Unfortunately, I only have 2 leads for A New Place to Live, and I want to move out this weekend. Looks like it's not happening, but next weekend is looking like a possibility. I have 2 leads on my street thanks to my son and I walking around, banging on doors, looking for another in-law unit similar to this one. And there is one just a block away, believe it or not. It's just a matter of convincing the 70-year-old to give me a good deal on it. I don't even think she wants to rent it out. But I can be very persuasive. All right. I'm going to spend 4 hours on Saturday walking the other side of this street and then crossing over for the 2 leads that my son and I got. We only did it for 2.5 hours, but I'm going to do 4 this weekend in the afternoon. So I might not be able to get to more than 3 movies this weekend, including Monday. This weekend plus Monday, I might only get to 3 because I'm still searching for a new place to live. I'd like to get a new place next week, ideally, but that's very ambitious. It's a matter of being persistent, hitting the pavement, and just asking as many people as possible. It's like finding a needle in a haystack. But I didn't give up. My son actually went with me, going door to door, asking if there are any rooms for rent. And some people were didn't want to talk to me, but there were a couple of young girls who were social butterflies, I guess. One of them even got my phone number, a good-looking blondie. She took down my phone number. She said, "If you don't hear from me, that means I couldn't find anything for you." Okay. That didn't sound very promising. I'm not expecting a phone call from her. But I did meet Painter Bob down the street, just at the next block. He knows a 70-year-old who used to rent out an in-law unit, hasn't been cleaned yet, and she has no intention of being a landlord again. That is until I bang on her door this Saturday, because he told me her address. I know where she lives now. So I'm just gonna say, listen, Painter Bob said you have an empty room. I'm interested in renting it out. Cool. We're making progress slowly but assuredly in my quest to find another in-law unit in my neighborhood on the very same street. So I can do this. I think I can really hit like 200 or 300 houses this weekend. And if I don't find a place by then, I'll do it again the following weekend. So that's going to be the reason for my lack of movie reviews. I hope you understand. I'm a very busy guy, very determined to get the $200,000 60 days after I move out, which could be potentially in mid-October. So that's my ultimate concern, my main focus right now. I maxed out my son's life insurance. I'm trying to max out mine. And I just switched my 401k to almost $2,000 coming out of my check into my 401k every semi-monthly payroll, which is insane, but it's still not enough to max it out until next year when I can spread it out over more pay periods for the entire year, as opposed to doing it 60% into the the year, I'm going to be at 0% in January, and I could just spread it out over uh, 26, 24 pay periods, I should say, as opposed to like 10 or maybe 11. All right. Well, nobody's in the chat room. It's a Monday night. I usually do movie reviews on Monday nights, but nobody cares to go in the chat room anymore on a Monday night. So we'll have to change that, make it more frequent, a Monday night thing or a Saturday morning thing or a Friday night thing. So if you want to go in the chat room and talk about Karate Man action movies or whatever is on your mind, please do so on Monday night, Friday night, and Saturday morning. I'm going to be busy Saturday afternoon looking for living quarters, but I should be free to watch review movies during those 3 days. And I know there's another holiday coming up. What's the next holiday? Memorial Day. No, that's May 26th. Is it Labor Day? I think it's Labor Day is coming up. Labor Day is the first Monday of September. So that's the next paid holiday I have to look forward to. And if I move out next week, I got to get internet and I might be doing movie reviews from the library while I'm acquiring internet, something like that. I know I can't do it on my phone because my phone just doesn't like uploading YouTube videos for some reason. Anyways, it's going to be a juggling act. My my YouTube channel and my movie reviews, but we'll get through this together. Be patient with me. I got lots more movies to review on this list besides the 3 that I mentioned. But yeah, we're going to chug away at this, get down to the nitty gritty. Cool. Well, that's the end of my review. Laters.